now back to All About Berea, and we are going to do the 4 things you should know, in which I tell you the 4 things you really need to know about Berea that week, even if you don't read anything else. So.
And I try to add to the list.
He'll add the 5 and 6, but we don't, yeah. That's only because he's ornery. It's really the 4.
4 things, okay.
And then the 2 things he says. All right, first of all, and Chad is well acquainted with number 1, is the Berea City Council had the public forum on the Fairness Ordinance on Tuesday. That took place at the Russell Acton Folk Center, which seated, there was approximately, I don't know that anyone got a hard count, but estimations were about 400 people. 400 people came. They could seat about 275 inside, and then the rest had overflow out in the parking lot. People could sign up to speak, so as they were called, they just came in from outside, spoke, and then could leave. So it was about a 2-hour process. I actually tried to keep a running record of who spoke, and it was pretty split even between people who were in favor of the Fairness Ordinance and people who were against the Fairness Ordinance. Some of the comments said, because of course this was not televised since it was at the Folk Center, main points probably you've heard before, but the people against it feeling like it's not needed in Berea. Also some religious objections to that, and a feeling that this will be an oppressive bit of regulation that could also cost a great deal of money or be a big liability for the city. So if you want to add to any of those. But those are kind of the main points for the objections to the Fairness Ordinance of Berea.
Frivolous lawsuits was a fear that came up.
Frivolous lawsuits, a vulnerability to legal action, yeah. People for the Fairness Ordinance, the arguments were pretty much still along the line of protecting people from discrimination. The 3 areas are sexual orientation, gender identity, and familial status. And the feelings of people who are homosexual in the community feeling like a certain type of fear, a certain type of vulnerability. This would help them feel safer. This would send a message about Berea. There's some business owners who say it would actually be economically advantageous to have the Fairness Ordinance in Berea. So that kind of summed up that argument for why this should be adopted.
A lot of passionate speeches, a lot of people on both sides, and a lot of good knowledge on both sides. But honest truth, it's pretty much the same thing we've been hashing for a long time, and there wasn't anything new.
This has been a 3-year process for those who are following this in Berea, and I would say, I don't know if that forum had anything new than it had 3 years ago.
That's correct.
We had our public forum at Berea Community School, and you really had the feeling that it was more about people just wanting to be heard, people feeling like I really need to say this more than, you know.
But instead of, some people said this is Berea at its worst because look how divided we are. I think this was almost Berea at its best because of how well it played out and how well and smooth it went. There was no bickering to the extent that it carried into the mob type idea. People were civil, so thank you for participants on both sides for being very civil. And for the most part, everyone was respectful of the time clock. I know that some of them went on to finish a sentence they had already started.
But it was very
mindful that I'm not going to keep on talking, and you're going to have to haul me away from this microphone.
I got things to say, and I'm a voter, by God.
So I appreciate everyone. Secondly, I want to thank the City of Berea employees. Oh, my goodness.
The police, the firefighters, I think Dale Van Winkle, everybody was in on the structure.
The Coast Department,
Phil, it was done very well.
Philip Hurt did the sound.
Hurt did the sound.
Just everything went smooth. It was great, and I am so appreciative to all of them. Yeah. The security felt good. You felt secure there. You felt safe.
It didn't feel oppressive.
That's right.
It didn't feel like you were getting patrolled. But there was a presence, and it felt, because this was a big crowd.
And fire exits were maintained. It was really good. And thank you to all of the city employees who pulled this off very well.
Well, and I'd also like to thank the council members and the mayor, and Randy Stone, who I felt like did a very nice job of just being present, listening. I felt like the mayor did a nice job of facilitating, kind of bringing it down when it got a little bit, But I agree, there is no way to not have a community have divisive issues. There's no way that's not going to happen, but I think in some ways Berea could be a model for how it can happen without just tearing everything apart.
And I do have one personal thank you, then we'll move on to your next thing on
Yeah.
the list. But our city clerk was so kind. She brought snacks.
I saw you guys with your little candy bars
Well,
up there.
because, look, I'm diabetic, and there have been at least 2 meetings since I've been on council where I just didn't know it was going to go that long. I didn't know.
Right.
And I would be cold sweating because
Yeah.
my sugar had just dropped. And I'd be just trying to find something. Not then. I left with a little sugar buzz, which is a little better than the opposite. So.
Well, and it was really, I mean, you guys are on an extreme hot seat, and I really feel like, because I had written a column this week about how we are in a representative government. I was kind of giving why this can't go to a vote. There's no Kentucky statute for how this can go to a vote.
Yeah.
You know, we are in a republic. And the fact is, there is no way you guys can represent Berea on this vote. You can only represent a section, you know, because this is divided. So I just want to say you guys have really kept grace and poise in an extreme hot seat. Because I know all of you are getting calls all the time.
We had this letter of the council was all in neutral colors, and it's not because that we're afraid to take a side or we don't want to take a side. It's because we're trying to be respectful of all this, because we're hearing
That was the letter
things
you
from
said?
everyone. It was in Facebook. Somebody was
Oh.
like, "How dare they not take a side?" You know, they were all in neutral colors, and I just have to laugh about it, because if you don't laugh about it, you'll get
and exactly, and you wear red, then you're going to have that. You wear
Yeah.
blue. I mean, it's impossible to.
And you notice we're red and blue. This was not planned.
Because he's the flaming liberal, actually. You guys might not know about it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a stodgy conservative. We just play the others on TV.
The whole thing went really well. And thank you, everyone, for what you did in participating. And we do appreciate all those that spoke. It takes a lot of courage to get up and speak. And that's not your everyday job, and we know that. And just to be able to stand up and state your name and your address and why you are for something or you're against something takes nerve. And it also,
it's so important.
yeah,
It's so
it shows
important to be
that
heard.
you really do care about Berea. Either side that you're on, you care about Berea, and we
Well, and
appreciate
that's
it.
one thing. One commonality is I love this place, and I moved here, and I felt really well. I mean, that was a commonality, which I found interesting.
All right, let's go
Okay.
on to our next.
Let's
list.
go to number 2 of the things you really, really, really need to know. The property tax rate was actually set at 0.101. So if there's anyone who worried that it was going to get a big increase
Our
this
last
year.
guest, Jonathan's leaving. We can
Bye,
wait.
Jonathan. Yeah, if you want to see Jonathan, he's in another
Another
segment that you can see him, our artist. It was, property assessments have gone down a little bit this year, which is why if you wanted to keep the revenues the same for this year as next year, the compensating rate was slightly higher. So it went from basically 0.100 to 0.101. And I think for those people who have a $100,000 piece of property, you're going to see a $1 increase on your property tax rate. But that was officially approved on Tuesday.
And you
So-
saw how I voted.
and Chad Hembry and Ronnie Terrell, who I think has actually voted against every budget and every tax rate, that wasn't kind of the more conservative. And then Chad voted against, everybody else voted for it. But I think for Chad, and if you read my article, I had quoted you on that you have a goal of not
I had
increasing
promised when I
taxes.
ran for
So-
office that I wouldn't raise any taxes. And I know 0.01% is so,
Read your lips.
it was, no, I'm not going that far. But it was my goal not to do it. And even though it's 0.01, it was raising. And I'm just trying to be true to my word.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
but it's not,
so-
it's nothing I want to debate over.
Right, I don't
it's a
think
minor,
anyone is
minor-
going to. If you do see, because I know last year there's some confusion, people really felt like the rate had really increased. But the issue is your properties are getting reassessed
Yep.
at a much higher rate. So
That's
if you
correct.
see a huge increase, that's probably what you're looking at. As far as schedule, the Spoon Bread Festival is happening
I am
this
so excited.
weekend. Number 3 on things you need to know, if only to know. If you don't want to go, you're going to have a lot of traffic
That's
to
right.
look at.
Either go or leave town.
Exactly.
There's no in between.
Or walk. We always walk, because it's a very convenient location down at the Berea Memorial Park.
Mm-hmm.
Starts Friday around, I think the opening is 3 or 4. We're
On
getting to that
Friday.
time where they actually officially open, and then Sunday close it out. But I believe I've heard the number thrown around of 15,000 to, does that sound right, of people who come?
19,000 one year is what was-
19,000, and that, I don't know that they have a hard time doing a hard count, but they talk to people who are used to doing these sorts of festivals and kind of give them an estimate.
There is a
So,
way to estimate count.
isn't it
pretty close.
amazing? Teresa's, and I've heard David, and I've heard other people say of those years when emo kept this thing going
Yeah,
by the
that's
strength
right.
of her will.
Yeah.
There's really a feeling that this festival is not going to have legs.
This is the
and
18th one. This is
and
great.
very popular. So had
Booths
some rough years.
have
but
sold. There's going to be lots and lots of booths. All kinds of exciting things coming. You should
inflatables
get the
for the
schedule.
kids,
Go-
lots of
yeah.
spoon bread to buy. I
Go
think
to-
they sell about $10,000 worth every year.
That's right, $10,000 worth of spoon bread. The spoonbreadfestival.com will show you the list of events. Lots of great
Lots of
entertainment.
music,
Yeah,
lots of music,
and
lots
you'll
of
want to be there for
food,
that if you
yeah.
because free entertainment, and we're talking top
Yeah.
notch.
Car shows, parade, yeah, it's just, and so the schedules, and also in the newspaper, in the Berea Citizen, we always do our special section. If you want to pull that out, that'll have the schedule, the vendor booths,
Oh
all
yeah,
that, the
if
map.
you go
So
to the
just go to that.
festival, that is an essential thing
Yeah,
you need to be
that'll
carrying.
guide you. So, and Chad, I assume this year you'll be there the whole time again at your
Yes,
booth?
I'll be at the stage. I'm emceeing again this year, but also Philip Hurt is helping me, so we're doing
Okay,
it, which will be
great.
really nice because now I can go to the restroom, go get a sandwich.
And we all appreciate that,
No,
Chad.
but Rhonda McIntyre was in charge of the entertainment and got the entertainment together and booked everyone, and she is so good at that. She is so organized, and the entertainers love her. And then she got me involved several years ago with BreaOnline.com.
Because she was doing that through the chamber, right?
Well,
That
yeah,
was kind of
she was
her-
on the chamber board. She just has stepped off the chamber board, and now I'm on the chamber board, so I will continue the legacy. And we are very excited because we've just made so many connections over the years with these bands,
And they probably just put it on their
very excited that
calendars, yeah.
Philip's helping this year because Philip, he's everywhere. He's Mr. Tech for the
Oh,
city.
he
and,
is.
And,
He
and
wears so many different hats.
He's
'Cause
doing
he's
this
actually with the
radio
code's office,
Yeah,
and yet he does all the technology.
he's doing his
so-
radio show on WWAG, the
Mm-hmm.
bluegrass show that he has, and plays music. He's a multi-talented man. Glad to have him working with him.
Any new bands we should know about this year, or?
There are lots of changes on there. You just
Okay.
go
So
and
just
look.
look at
The
the-
list is
look
too
at the
big
schedule.
for me to read it all.
Look
Yeah.
at the schedule. Okay. We're not going to read this to you. After three hearings of the fairness ordinance, I'm kind of burned out on everything's read to me.
Yeah, I don't really read to for a while.
Okay, and number 4 of the 4 things you should know about Berea. I mentioned this if you're looking at the interview with Jonathan Clark, but the Arts Accelerator program that Berea Tourism is sponsoring is going to have their official grand opening on October 3rd, Friday at 3 o'clock. This was just scheduled by tourism. This is the program that really in many ways is their kind of feature program right now, and we'll see how it works. I think they're going to have a lot of eyes on him. But they've basically taken 5 Berea College grads who are artists. One of Jonathan's a painter. They have 3 ceramic workers, and then someone who does printmaking. They're in the old Hayes building across from the Kentucky Guild. Basically, tourism has rented the 2 ends of that old building. And at the, I don't know, would that be the northern end, the one that's further away from Chestnut Street, is where the Arts Accelerator program is. They've been busy renovating it the last couple of months. They'll have their work out on Friday. And I've kind of been there a couple of times, and they're doing a nice job getting it set up. So I encourage people to go to that. They'll be in it for 16 months, and of course the hope with this program is kind of twofold. One is that it'll help kind of boost artists in Berea, help them really get a sense of what it takes to run a business here. We'll put them in the accelerator program, then they'll actually start a business when they get out of it. That's the hope. The second kind of objective, I think, of tourism is to just keep Old Town Artisan Village stuff going on there, keep one of those areas more vibrant and alive. So we'll see how that works.
A lot of eyes will be on it. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
experimental. It was very controversial
Yeah,
at first,
yeah.
and I still don't know how I feel about it, but I trust Belle to she's a true believer in it, and the tourism board seems to believe in
Well,
it.
and
So
you can't deny the energy it's
That's right,
created.
and it's
First
created some
Friday's having
momentum.
this, there
Yeah.
is movement.
so we'll
Hopefully
see
that can
how
be
it plays
sustained.
out
Yeah.
and let it have its year.
But definitely, as far as the artists themselves, these are very talented, dynamic artists. I mean, these are not your plodding along. So I really encourage people to go and take a look, because it's cool stuff. And Jonathan Clark's already been fairly popular in Berea. He's already been selling a couple years, so. Okay, and so that's for the Arts Accelerator program. So that's it for four things you should know. 5 and 6, Chad?
No,
You wanna add
don't
to
have it. No. Next week I've got a couple, but I'll let that go till then. Thanks for watching. This has been
Thanks
All
so
About
much.
Berea. This is Beth Myers. I'm Chad Hembry. I want to thank the Berea Citizen and BereaOnline.com for making the show possible. We'll see you next week.